We're going to look at professional disc. Again, since the previous video the sound was a bit messed up, but it should be sorted out now and sound much better. The input was selected to the raw microphone rather than the processed one, and so the level was too low. Anyway, professional disc, which this is one. It's a digital recording optical disc format introduced by Sony in 2003, primarily for XD cam, its tapeless camcorder system. Reading from Wikipedia. It's one of the first optical formats to utilize a blue laser, which allows for higher density of data to be stored on optical media compared to infrared lasers used in CD and red lasers used in DVDs. So these discs come in a range of sizes. This is a 23 gig version, up to 128 gigs, which is a 4-layer disc, for up to 240 minutes at 50 megabits per second. This is 45 minutes by the look of it. Anyway, we've got a camera that takes that format. We did briefly look at this on the last video, but since it got all messed up, we do it again. Let's hook this up. Got this camera in unknown condition. Didn't come with a lens or a viewfinder. I found this viewfinder knocking about, but which is a Sony one, but it doesn't fit on there, and also the plug's different, so that's a shame. On the label there, PDW-530, a professional disc camcorder, and it has whatever that is, some kind of thing. There's an on-off switch there, presumably that's for the tally light. Oh, look at that. On the top, there's this thing that presumably moves over. Ow. Oh, very strong thing that some assignable buttons 3 and 4. Yeah, that pinches your finger if you're not careful. I don't know how you're supposed to move it. Weird. Alright. So on the side we have more assignable buttons, some volume levels for monitoring, switches for gain, output, white balance, a memory stick slot, a menu option. I guess the memory stick is for holding settings, the power switch, got a display. Oh, look at that. Hopefully that pushes the edge of the screen, not onto the glass part. That's nice. Sort of, it's a bit wonky. What the monitor's showing, brightness, type of counter or timecode user bits are displayed. Then there's audio stuff here, thumbnails, and a little menu selector wheel thing. That's closed by magnets, which is nice. And there's a little foam seal thing around for that knobby, so probably to stop dust getting in there. On the back, there's an array of ports. 12-volt power in, XLR, an earphone connector, a video out, which is SDI. Then there's the microphone inputs, an audio output. Then there's a firewire plug there. For HDV, presumably? No, just DV. Oh, yeah, this one's standard definition, but at least it's the nice 6-pin connector. On this side, there's Genlock input, a test out, timecode out. Guess you get video out of the test out, composite video, timecode connectors. And then on the top, that's where the disc goes. Front, there's a few other connect, phone level, auto white balance, tele, a shutter selection under that little cap, then a what type of ND filters and like color filters. So let's power this up and see what happens. Got this power supply for today, an AC adapter. So we'll stick that on. look on the SDI output. So we'll put that on so we can see what's going on there. Okay, that's quite big. Look at that. They're quite fuzzy, possibly due to this old lens. The lens has, from a different camera, much older, variable speed power zoom, which is quite nice. Very fancy, and a ×2 multiplier. You see the drop-in light. You see the drop-in light when you put on the multiplier because it's magnifying just the center of the image onto the whole image sensor, so the light disappears, the light lowers. Anyway, that's that. You can choose bars, and there's a gain up. Oh, the iris is stuck. You can hear the motor running, but it can't do it. This lens has seen better days then. That's a shame. Anyway, that's just how it is. Oh, there's another earphone socket there. Front and rear earphones. That's nice. Let's check the disc in here. We'll see what happens. See the battery level there. The battery can be between empty and full, but the disc can be between empty and B. Oh, it must be blank. Okay. Let's start recording. Record something really exciting. Oh, look, there you go. You can turn the tally light on and off. What do these assignable buttons do? I don't think there's much else we can do on this, is there? Presumably the bars will be recorded. This screen is pretty flickery. The image on that looks like it's jumping up and down. So you can put the picture on it. It's not particularly high quality. Oh yeah, you can put the stuff over the picture, text over the picture. Alright, so we'll stop that, and presumably you can push rewind and we can play the one that we, is that what we were, yeah, it's what we recorded last time on the other video. And is that what we recorded today? No, it's hard to know. This one must be what we recorded today. Yes, there you go. Look at that, so it works. Great. Let's take it apart and see what's inside it. And we'll do a little bit of, the lenses aren't heavy, a little bit of comparison between what's inside this camera and what's inside the other one. And we'll also, just wondering if there was a menu to go in. Is that of any value? When you open this, there's a menu thing. Oh, there it is. Center markers, safety zones, safety areas. Does that mean you use this little wheel thing? I wonder what you... Oh, it must be this knob here. Yeah, look at that. That cycles through. Yeah, there's a little knob thing there that you can click. Oh yeah, so you can see... Well, you can't see because it's too small, but you can choose there in the menu what it displays on the test output connector, which is what we wanted there. The probably be best if we just unplug or put it on bars. Does that make it easier to read? Test output select. Oh yeah, you can make it red, green, blue. Ah, it looks like the test output's what displays on that screen itself. Viewfinder display, marker, gain switch, turbo switch, viewfinder settings, lens file. Oh yes, look at that. Whether it's 16:9 or not, whether it's I or PSF. What's that? I've said it quite a lot. Recording format. Your DV cam or IMX 50 megabits. Warm or cool. Cache interval. iLink mode. FAM or AVC. Okay. FAM. What does it mean, file access? Because I'm pretty sure you can write like data onto some of these disks. Alright, that's a little look at the menu. Now we're going to take apart the camera to see what's going on inside it. Get the disk out. We need to leave that door open as we found last time. Do switch off the power. Well, we don't necessarily have to leave the door open because, as we discovered, there's a little cover there that when you remove the cover, there's access to a little button that you can push in. Yeah, there you go. Yes, so you can open the disc holder thing by just pushing a little lever over, and that will allow you to get into it. First we'll open that side first. Now, since this is working, it's probably more worth keeping it together, maybe. Keeping it functional, not like last time where it got torn down completely. Well, the other one had some problem. Let's see if the disc mechanism is similar. Although this is a standard definition camera, whereas the last one we looked at was high definition-ish. Still not that high because it's still only, I don't know what it was, 720 was it? Was it 1080i? I don't know. This one is definitely still just standard definition. Now we get this open, pull on the disc tray thing. And these bungs have to be lifted up. Powerhead EX. Oh, look at that. Do not stare into beam with remaining eye. And that's quite a different mechanism because it's got this little pulley there for adjusting moving the laser sled. Interesting. And on this one, no, you can get to 3 of the screws to remove the mechanism, but that one you can't, which is the same as last time where there was this bit of stuff in the way that I've just bent. So it seems like you're supposed to take something else off first. It seems to be unreasonably difficult to get the disc mechanism out. Don't know why. Shall we do it? That lifted up by itself. And there's a cable there that needs undoing. Then presumably it's these 2 screws here. Let's see. Oh, there's another cable under there. That will be very difficult to plug back in. Okay, so the loading mechanism for the disc is on there. That looks very similar to the other one. Ah, those screws are captive, that's nice. Do you remember that very interesting shaped PCB there? Just for another switch over there. This PCB where they could just make a flex. Must be some reason. Maybe it's cheaper. But there's flexes everywhere else. Look at that good one. And there, and here, and around there. Okay, so there's the disc motor. There's... Oh, maybe that didn't have to come off. Or did that capture something? Don't know, I didn't see what happened. Ah, yeah, I guess we didn't have to take that piece off because this just hooks under something. I think it's under that. Those little bits hook it in. Okay. We can get to these. Oh, look at that. That one's not even done up. That was completely undone. I didn't undo that, did I? I don't think so. Someone else has had a go in this. There's a ribbon cable under there that we can't even see or get to. We'll just put this in lightly and we'll try getting in from the other side. But while we're here, we take a look at the image sensor assembly. There's some shielded cables, that must be the signal coming out, and there's ribbon cables down the other side. You can see there's pretty big ribbon cable connectors down the other side of those boards. Interesting what that is. Oh, that takes the signal up to this part here where the viewfinder connector is. So that's probably got video and other things. Oh, that there is part of the back plane along the bottom. Like again, it's got that metal plate on the bottom of the camera under the shoulder pad to allow the mechanism to go down below this bottom of the chassis. So fairly similar. It's also been wet. See, there's corrosion on the bottom of that, but that just might be a little bit of rain got in there. Did notice also there's a light auto manual switch there. It must be for what you plug into this. Well, yes, it says light there, maximum 50 watts. D-tap. Guess it goes onto that thing. Your light, video light. Okay, let's have a look in this side. It's all sealed up. Is there another screw somewhere? Oh, did I? Oh, I forgot that. That's weird. I thought I'd done it. Must have just looked at it and thought about it. Oh, look at that. Similar approach where there's some plastic strip things that help you not destroy those ribbon cables. I guess it's so that when it's on a tripod you can have it. I want to get that off. Is that possible? Not easily. It's annoying. Maybe we just unscrew them. Interesting. Just get this side bit out of the way and then we'll take a close look in there. Oh yeah. Okay, that's good. Alright, so that's come off. Now we've got a bunch of ribbon cables. Quite stiff latches on the plugs. Whoopsies. A wayward screwdriver banging into things. Okay, look at this. There's a side panel board, which will be various audio and other things. Interesting that long thin cables there. These cables up here will be what goes into that little screen. But I wonder what that is. Now we got to take this off to find out. Will this be going back together after all this? Well, we haven't got to the boards yet. Look how much stuff's in there. Doesn't really matter. What matters is we get to find out. And that way you don't have to destroy your video camera to find out. Since this was getting thrown out anyway. Did I lose a screw already? What's so rattly? Oh, it's the screw that hold the side on it captive. That's what's rattling around. Okay, so there's some very springy little wires. I guess it's going to that LCD panel. Or maybe it's that. Maybe that's its own little goofy. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Because you can see there are little screws there and there. And that seems to be in line with that. So there must be its own little dingamy bob. Do we take this off to look at that? Yeah, we might as well. If not, someone would be complaining that we didn't look hard enough at the stuff. Yeah, I remember on the side panel board of the other camera, there was that little leadless chip. And it seems like the same thing's there. See, doesn't have legs like regular ICs have. Instead, it's like a DFN type thing. Not sure why that is. Must be a certain type of thing that only comes in that package. Does that mean we're supposed to look it up? Ah, that's extra work. We should do. Can you see what that is? Definitely say something. Yeah, great. What we need to do is take a photo of it with a camera. And then that will help us see it. Is that RS025AA or FG486C? Nope, that doesn't show anything. FG486C. Again, that doesn't seem to come up with anything. Alright, well there you go. That's not an easy to find chip. If you know, write it in the comments so then we can all know what is that thing. These connectors are tight. What are we doing again? We want to know what those little wires go to. Can we do that without destroying the stuff? Yeah, look at that. There you go. It's just a little module thing. It's got a little scroll wheel type doofy on it. I wonder if we can get that off. To have a look at it. Real tiny screws. Is that because this thing gets wrecked, so it needs to be on its own board? I guess it's just to get it in the right position. So it can click in and roll. It's a surface mount component. So presumably that's 3 wires for the encoder part and 2 wires for the switch part. Wow, look at that little thingy. So we're putting this back together? I guess so. Are we putting it back together? I don't know. To feed those wires back up. It's very springy wires on this stuff. These real thin ones. I guess they're high flex wires for mini flexes. No, it's messy. There's a button there that says CPU reset. Special plastic sheet thing. Alright, great, that's the side panel. There's the knobbies. Alright, we've got a whole bunch of boards in here to investigate. And look at that, now we can see this thing here is some kind of expansion. I wonder if that's for a wireless transmitter. Let's take the cover off and find out. Well, we're not going to find out, but we'll see what's going on under it. And so the other camera we looked at didn't have this. Oh, it's like a 15-pin D plug in there. That's weird. Look at that. And that's it. So I suppose it would be for a wireless transmitter. This is probably like component video or SDI or something coming out of that. Presumably, it would sit up and have aerials on it. Maybe. So you can record to disk for the a backup and then stream it over the airwaves for a live thing. Yeah, it's got quite a... Is there more to it? This is very confusing because there's another in there. There's lots of wires and there's another connector, which makes me wonder that this isn't the only thing that can go in here. Yeah, look at that. You see now it's got a really heaps of pins type connector. So this must be a certain type. Don't know. It's got a flex board with rigid bits on it. Let's go from one connector to another. Weird. I guess there's different revisions or versions of that expansion module thing. Look at that, there's power supply thingies there. Oh, there's also another one. Look at that. There's another thing up there which goes to something that I guess we access by this. There's all sorts of secrets. What could this be? Well, it's another thing that's not installed. Some other type of expansion ennator thing. And that cable coming off of it goes all the way down there to that main board. There's some power supply thingies. Do these come out? Yeah, look at that. Good power supply doofies. With that SOIC FETs on the back. Nice ceramic capacitors. Then the inductors and some electrolytics and final output filters. And then the control ICs. Is it the same one we found last time? A PS5120 Ti. Dual output 2-phase synchronous buck controller where the outputs run 180 degrees out of phase. Well, there you go. It's one of those guys. So each one of those must be a power supply rail, and this must be some other one. Yeah, look, there's some other doofies under there. It should be 2 single phase or even 3 more power supplies in there. A T1451? What is this? I don't know. Maybe that's an abbreviated code. Not sure. Okay, well, that's one of the power supply boards. Then there's a different one here. Ah, look, it does it right. They have written on there what the voltages are. Didn't see that before. 10.2, 46, 1.85, 3.2, 2.5. Good. And then the other one that we just pulled out. Several other power supplies on it. Something isolated potentially there. A whole bunch more stuff. Minus 11, plus 15, plus 9, plus 35, plus 7, 5.05, ICVCC. Nice! Nice power supplies. There's a bit of weight to that, probably all those inductors, isn't it? Still more going on. There is another board that sticks up from the bottom. And it has a flex on it. Look at that. That's weird, isn't it? It's another interface thing onto that expansion header. But presumably that's the SDI encoder. This little coax is going down there, probably down to the SDI connector. Nice little thing. Let's put that out of the way and we can get this off. Yeah, it's all digital stuff with a bunch of buffers there. Special Sony chip. Another special Sony chip, and then the RF output for SDI. Now we got, that's where the stuff comes in from the cameras. Sorry, that's where the stuff comes in from the image sensors. GRB. And then that, I think, is that the flex connectors that go off to the image sensor thingies? Maybe. Okay, it's got a little plastic sheet on it. It's got all the good analog stuff. Maybe that's the analog to digital converters of the CCDs. This is Sony A1486. The problem is that's an Apple part number or something. It comes up with a bit of stuff saying it's a Sony something. Anyway, that's that. Now we've got this board. There's some kind of memory on it. Look at that, they put an insulator over that capacitor. There's something on there, must be that stuff there. Trying to avoid touching it. There's a board-to-board connector over there, quite stiff. More memory. Some kind of processory thingies. Now look at that. Big Sony, that guy. And then a bunch of other stuff. Xilinx Spartan. Let's see, does this come off? That's quite a complicated doofy. Now, this whole board should lift off these connectors here. Oh, look at that. Is that a voltage controlled oscillator? Maybe? A lot of various logic chippies on there. Quite good. Now look at that. Next layer down. Look at that. There's a the TMS-320 DSP. Pretty similar to what we saw on the other one, isn't it? Ah, and there we can see where that expansion port thing goes. It's another board-to-board connector going to a flex. That's pretty high quality. So that's a mid-layer flex. Can we get this thing out to inspect it better? I think we have to take stuff off from the other side in order to do that. You gotta do it by unscrewing that way. So we'd have to take this back piece off. No, that's quite a lot of stuff to take off. Okay, does this move? Will it move? Oh, look at that, it moves easy. Okay, now, if you yoink on these wires pretty hard, now we can see that thing there, another expansion port thingy, with its connector being pulled nice and tight, the wires that come off the battery terminals. Interesting how it has buffers, little buffers, 2, 4, 5, so it's a standard like octal bus driver thingy. Now we can get in through this convenient little slot that they left onto the screws that are holding this expansion port thing. Or maybe we could have just done it from the top. Look at that. We could just do that. Just now we can see it better. No, it's not going to come out like that. We've got to undo these as well. Okay, now that comes off. It's all fiddly. Look, there's a little insulating flap thing there with some push rivet things. Look at this. This is such an interesting, fairly complex PCB there. Take up quite a bit of panel area for that. So it's all one PCB that has a flex core with rigid on the outside. So how do they manufacture that? It would have to be panelized very carefully, and then all of this rigid part gets routed away. Then, so they start off making 2 double-sided boards at least. Or was it 2 single-sided boards? With the copper on the outside, these blue ones, and then they get all routed away wherever the board isn't, and then they get glued onto this flex board, which that looks like a single-sided flex board. So it's all in a panel, all nice and held in position. You can see where the breakaways are, and there. So that gets glued together on each side of this flex, and then it gets replated, or it gets plated, to grow the copper through the wires to join it onto the flex board. And you end up with this, and then you pop it out of the panel, you end up with this nice thing which can plug into different places. And it's all been made as one PCB. I wonder if they use selective soldering for that. Maybe, and it might have gone astray a bit. You can see there that ferrite beads, most of them are soldered down really nicely, except those 2 there. They've got flux around them. Maybe just the flux dribbled down, but you can see the yellowy color from the flux there. So that might have been selective solder, where a little bit of solder's blasting out like a volcano and it rides along there. Because if they had gone through the wave, then they'd be looking a bit more messy. So there'd be a surface mount process that puts those on and this, and then that will be manually placed and selective soldered. And then there's a surface mount soldering on this side, which does that connector, those more ferrite beads, and nothing on this board, only has that side. And they'll be screening some paste onto those things there, and then they get squished down by the screw. Is that really a good thing to do? Well, they're doing it. A fascinating little thing. I recently did a rigid flex PCB layout at work, which turned out quite nice. To show that in a video, I did record a little bit of video about that flex board, bending it around for when I plan to do some PCB layout tutorial type videos. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time, but I haven't really started it because it kind of needs to be scripted and done properly, and that's not really the sort of thing I do. I'm just wondering, do these come out as one piece maybe, or does this one come off first? Let's find out. It might come off first. It feels like there's board to board connectors there. Yeah. Look, there's some big guy on the other side there. Yeah, look at that. Oh, and there's a Tiva Cyber Pro. That's exciting. Also, it says their PCI bus. What that is, PCI bus 1510, a single slot card bus controller. Look at that. A Vertex 2 Pro Power PC processor. Wow, quite a bit of grunt going on in this thing. Wonder if that's like a hardware MPEG encoder thing. A Cyber Pro 522G. It's a 64-bit 2D graphics accelerator used for embedded systems. Well, there you go. That's what that is. Interesting. And then there's two of these NEC thingies. Are they the same? A D30131F. Looks like it. We'll look up that as well. Dunno. Not sure what that is. I think it's a microcontroller. Alright, well that's exciting. All kinds of bits on that. And I think this, I don't know, it's not the last board, but I think the one underneath this one is the like the disk drive thing. That's a pretty nice looking chip though. Right, now, will this come out? Oh, we have to take that off. I think it will. And we also have to take that off, which is the Firewire port. Which is interesting because where's the TI chip? Oh, it's over there. That must go through the board. Must be a lot of layers. Oh, look at that. It goes on the outside. Goes there into the little chippy right there. Transmit and receive pair. Nice, because on the other camera, these shielded cables snaked across the board. But they did it on the board, and this time. Okay, so to take the disk mechanism out, you have to undo all this stuff. Yeah, why not? Probably that as well. I think it was that one that I was looking at. I don't know, should we pull off this stuff? There's all sorts of good stuff going on in here. Oh, look, there's a button there. Doesn't tell you what it does, but there's some dip switch under it, and that does tell you what it does. It says there, normal or JTAG, boot or system 1 or 0, normal or test. So maybe one of those, or maybe one of those headers there is the connectors is JTAG. I wonder what that's JTAG for. Maybe it's that. Altera Cyclone. We'll probably all have some sort of JTAG on them, boundary scan for testing. Are we really pulling all this stuff out? Guess so. It's not going to be that easy to get back together, is it? It's like a fan. Okay, so I guess now we can get the mechanism out from the other side. Might be a kind of one-way thing. There is a fan there. Oh, is there a vent? Oh look, the vent is up there. So it's kind of covered, so there's no direct path back into the camera for rain drips or whatever. And then also we can see there's a special thing there. So I just reached into the lens hole. But I think if you remember from last time, aha, look at that. That's why the picture's so fuzzy. It's because that happened. So the IR filter in there has pretty much sucked it. So yeah, that's why perhaps this camera's not that worth keeping. Yeah, I was thinking, why is the picture so fuzzy on that? Is the lens not good enough for it? That's the reason why, because you can barely get any good light through that. So we pulled this thing out. It'd work again, but wouldn't be very good in daylight because there'd be too much IR or whatever it is. Yeah, so it at least needs that replacing. Because you can't clean it. That stuff is inside it. I think it's made of multiple layers of stuff, and that haze there, it's like where they're glued together maybe. Yeah, a bit disappointing, but yeah, now we can see, look at that. That's a really good flex board there. Look at that good stuff going on there. We need to get this guy out. Yeah, it's got like hex screws there. Weird. Also, the other thing that's weird is there's a grid pattern on that filter. See that? But yeah, I wonder what's up with that, using those things. Forgotten what I was talking about. Yeah, so you can undo that screw there, and then this lens mount will unscrew the whole way, and then you can unscrew these 4 screws and it will drop out the image sensor assembly. Yeah, we should do that because that's what we're here for, to see what the deal is. So we'll undo that one screw on the lens mount, and then you've got to take the little handle lever thing out. It bangs into stuff, and then yes, we can unscrew that. Oh, unscrews a long way, threaded in there. Then we're free to get this assembly out, which is where we got stuck on the other camera because I didn't take any of that off, and then just trying to just yoink it all through the side of the thing. Is that luckily gonna fit? No, we need to find a bit. Nope. It's an in-between size. What is this? It's a 32, 30 seconds. This is the T sizes. Is it? Yeah, it's that guy, whatever that is. 2.5. Maybe it's because you're not supposed to undo these screws. That's probably why they're done as these hex head thingies instead of JIS like everything else is. Oh, this isn't going to succeed either because we've got to take this off. And what does that need? That needs some hardcore little tiny thingies to undo that. Oh, the other thing we didn't look at is that little tiny encoder knob that was down there on the front panel, or the side panel with the controls that we used for navigating the menu. Okay, we've got to get out a different set that's got tiny things in it to get that out. All this good stuff. It's a 0.9 apparently. Okay. Problem is if you take that knob off, the knobbies, then this stuff's going to be out of sync, isn't it? And it's not going to be in the right position anymore. Doesn't want to come off though. Oh, there's actually two. Actually two screws you have to undo. Okay, there we go. So they're off. And since that's a round shaft, good luck getting those back on in the right position. Doesn't come out because there's stuff in the wrong... There's stuff in the way. You see that post there? It stops you from doing it. So we're going to take the front off as well. The whole front. There we go, look at that. Does that help? Yes, look at that, we got out. But there's heaps of wires attached to it. So we should have seen that coming. There's the blue. Or was it the blue one? Oh, look at that, it's a Canon assembly. Canon CPJ MS35. Look at that great thing there. So it's a double-sided flex board with some stiffeners on it and this aluminum plate. Is that attached? Oh, just by tape. And so that holds these connectors on to stop them from popping off. See, that goes down there through that. And then there was this special thing which clicks onto there. Holds those into position to keep them nice, I guess. It's interesting that there's a slot between those. Yeah, so this brings all the power and clocks and different voltages and things down to the CCDs. As you can see, CCDs, 3 of them, under this little plate thing that's soldered in. So it gets all lined up and soldered in place so it's not going to move. And then if you know how many turns, you can get that back in the right position to mount a lens on it. CCD assembly. Great. Alright, does that mean the last piece is to pull out the disc assembly? We've kind of looked at the board that the disc drive connects up to. Now this guy. I suppose we've got to pull these out from this end. The problem is there's a whole bunch of other wires that have got to pull up, but I don't think they want to do that. Is it that? No, there's some kind of bung thing on it that pops out. That one already got pulled off completely. No, it's these side ones. Yes, okay, so they also have bung things. Bungs. I don't know why that is. What does that control? Airflow or dust or something? Bungs. Bungs. So now those bungs are unbunged. Yeah, now the disc mechanism thing is dropping out. Yeah, look at that. There's another fan there. Shock mounted fan. So that blows on the underside of the laser assembly, so maybe that gets warm. So it's quite a bit different, the disk drive assembly. I guess we'll keep this as is and not destroy it. And well, it might be a little bit too late. And then we can see if this is the same one that's used in that the other professional disk drive doofies that I've got, which perhaps we'll take a look at in a while. Next time, another time. I don't know what the plans is. This video almost didn't happen because of being quite busy on another project. There's the sled. There's the nice laser. It's focusing doofy. And the actual laser. That's not the laser. So there's a little tiny motor there. The actual laser is somewhere else. This is quite different because, yeah, I think the laser's there. And the pickup is possibly there. You can see there's some colored thingies there, which are possibly lenses or other devices. So this has quite a long optical path compared to the other assembly that we took apart. So it does look like a little tiny motor. Maybe there's some other internal focusing thing to do with moving stuff around. Do we destroy this now to find out? Maybe we make a separate video. If you want me to take this thing apart more to find out what's going on inside there, let me know and we'll do it in the other professional disc machines video when that happens. Assuming I remember, but there's some kind of light sensor thingies there. Maybe that helps determine when a disc is in. Now, this motor must have quite a good control system on it because it's not very geared down. Means it can seek really fast. The other thing that's interesting is what's under this. Some sort of good thing is under there. It says, for USA, caution, laser radiation when open and interlock defeated, do not stand to beam. For Europe, class 1M laser radiation open when interlock defeated, do not view directly with optical instruments. So that's interesting. So depending on what country you're in, USA, you're not allowed to stare into the beam, but presumably viewing directly with optical instruments is fine. And in Europe, you can stare into the beam, but you're not allowed to view directly with optical instruments. Wonder why that is. What about other countries? I guess you can just do what you like. This is a little drivery thing for the light, I think. Pretty sure those wires there are these wires here, which go up to that light connector thing. Some kind of power supply. Ah, I guess it's a 12-volt regulator, so that if you're running like a halogen bulb off that, you're not going to burn it out by your supercharged battery giving like 18 volts or whatever that they do in the full welly. That's probably a little buck boost thing. It's got a linear tech IC on it. Current sense resistors probably 10 milliamps. Is that R01? Look at that. T filter type doofies. It's got the ground down the middle and then the signal goes through it. You don't see those very often. For decoupling noise. Interesting. Not many turns on the deductor, but it's probably a pretty high frequency thingy. I wonder if it's buck boost or just a buck. Don't know, it's probably both. Well, I don't know, it depends what voltage the camera can go down to. I thought they could go something like 9 to 18 volts maybe. Because it could have NiCads on it or lithium ions or whatever. Just wondering if we should pull this thing off the handle. While we're at it, I'm not going to leave any stones unturned. Turn all of the stones. How do we get this thing off? Oh, this is a little fan grill cover thing. Ah, so there's also vents over here, as well as those ones we looked at over there. Oh, okay. Yeah, fan there. It's got a rim to stop water dribbling in, and then there's numerous output vent thingies from the back side. There's some foam. But now we can get to the screws that hold this handle on. Okay, now this side. Need to undo the thing that allows the viewfinder to go forward and back. Oh, look at that. No wires get trapped. Ah, except that one, which pulled off. Oh, it's those two assign buttons. Interesting that they used a shielded cable for that. Oh yeah, look at that. It just goes to those, the two terminals of that plug. without going to anything else. And all this other business here is to do with the viewfinder connector, which in itself is a complicated thing. It's a little switch, which was to do with the light, wasn't it? Auto or manual. And then there's the... So that just comes along for the ride. But it looks like this. Oh yeah, that can unplug. So it's got a vertical board and a horizontal board there. Oh, and a little screw that just hooks that in. Very thin, flimsy ribbon cable. I wonder, it'd be pretty hard wearing connector. I wonder, is that a I2C driver thing? I remember, was it I2C is used to control the like indicators and things on some of the viewfinders. They've got various LEDs that can light up around them, and various other features that's controlled by I2C. That looks like an NXP there, PCA9555, I think. Sounds like some kind of I2C thing. There's also a linear tech chip and what looks like a FET and a resistor, probably some sort of power supply controller for the viewfinder. Great! Well, there you go. I think we've covered most of the stuff. There's still a few other bits and pieces, more boards tucked away in places. There's probably another power supply board like in the other camera underneath in there. Yeah, it looks like it. More power supply doofies in there. Under the back plane. I think that's where we'll leave this one today. This will go back together easily, won't it? Nothing's been ruined. Just put it all back together. Sure. Not so sure about that. Hope you enjoyed that look inside the Sony PDW-530 professional disc camcorder. And we'll look at a few more professional disc thingies in the future. Can't guarantee when that is. Let me know how much you liked this one, and that might influence what comes next. But we've still got heaps of VCRs to look through. And let's hope the sound is good and not messed up like it was in the last video. Sorry about that. That was quite disappointing, and I couldn't be bothered trying to redo it or voice over it, but there you go. Stay tuned for the next video.